Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast that looks at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chennard. I'm here with Tyler Jones recording on a Thursday night after the Hawks bowed out of Summer League contention. They were down 32 to 2 after the first quarter. Tyler, who do you want fired?
The internet. Uh, I promise you, the vast majority of Hawks fans don't care about this. I'm sorry, they don't care about summer league. It's exclusively for the online basketball fans. That's what summer league is for. That's who cares about it. Unfortunately, the Hawks clearly didn't prioritize winning the summer league title. Maybe they would have if Mo Gueye didn't get hurt. But after Mo Gueye broke his foot and now he's out, he might miss. He might not play in this calendar year. So it's just like I think a plug was pulled maybe more than what people realize on the back end. They just didn't tell us. So it's unfortunate for the diehard Hawks fans, but I promise you, you'll forget about this in like 2 weeks. So it might not even be 2 weeks. The second some new Hawk story comes out, that's what you'll care about. So like whatever happens with Kaminga, that's going to be the biggest talking point. You're not even going to care about this summer league fiasco.
In watching any of the two games now where he's been more featured, is there anything watching Henry Vasar? We've said all along, like there's a lot of skill there. He's got to get stronger. Is there anything about seeing him play more where you see more into it, whether good or bad, things that he might be able to do, more limitations?
Well, I didn't. I mean, admittedly, I only watched half the first quarter of this summer league game, but previous game, you saw Henry's strengths when he went up against a center that was weaker than him. So it's just like, yeah, when he's able to compete physically, he looks pretty good out there. And then tonight, or today, I saw a guy who couldn't, maintain his handle, couldn't, establish position, wasn't really much of a factor considering it. Now, it wasn't really his fault, but like the Grizzlies were playing real NBA guys with real strength that could knock him off his spots consistently and also get up on him. Like Taylor Hendricks has his flaws, but he's somebody who can guard Henry Vassar out on the perimeter in ways that most centers can't right now, at least in summer league. But on an NBA floor, unless and this is the issue with Vasar right now, unless Vasar is going to be playing against like traditional centers that don't want to come out onto the perimeter, he's going to struggle. Period. Or like if a team goes small against him because he doesn't have the strength necessary, he's just not going to be much of a factor. At least at this stage of his career, he's got to get stronger, um, and he's got to be able to play through contact better. But I mean, overall, like I think he's had a pretty good summer league. Like this game, the game against the Grizzlies, like understanding that he was not set up for success. I thought, from what I saw, it was just like he was just okay, but it's just like you see why the Hawks didn't want to entrust him with backup center minutes, right away. Even though he's an older player, uh, he's got he's got some physical maturity he needs to go through in order to get to the level that the Hawks need him to get, which I think he can get there, but it's going to take some time.
Should we should we read anything into the fact that Jacob Toppin was like not with the team for this game? I think he put something on social media where he's on the Kentucky campus. He started out as a two-way player, had the season-ending injury. Is this is this sort of just sort of the natural progression of things where he's just going to be a free agent and he's not going to be on a two-way contract next year, and that's sort of what you expected, or should we feel any other way about this?
I mean, there's just limited roster spots. Unfortunately for him, he got hurt last year, where maybe he could have helped a little bit, but I mean, you even saw it here in summer league. Honestly, like he's just not a three. He just doesn't have the skills that an NBA teams need from a wing. And then at the power forward position, his defense just isn't at the level. And so it's just hard. Like it's unfortunate for him because he is like he's a good basketball player, and I feel like a team could use him. But the defense being so bad at the four, I mean, it just is, and it's like, oh, what's he bad at? Well, he's just not that strong, and he's not that big of a power forward. He's kind of like what if Jalen Johnson, but less of an athlete. And so it's just like, well, what are you giving me at the four that I can't get from a Mo Gueye or a Zuby Ejiofor? And the fact of the matter is the Hawks invested the first round pick in Ace Newell, and they play the same position. So I just think for this Hawks team, the minutes just were never going to be there on an NBA floor. He was a good depth piece, but I, I think the Hawks internally probably see Kobe Johnson as the better player, just because he has more wing guard skills compared to Jacob Toppin, who's just like, I mean, for as good as he is, he's a pure power forward to me. And like when you're limited to one position and you're 26 years old, like it's just going to be it. He was already facing an uphill climb. I do think the injury set him back. Like I think he might have gotten an opportunity even last year, maybe potentially, but um, I think the Hawks want to move in a different direction. They want more defense in general up and down the roster. And Toppin, like if Toppin was a better, maybe if Toppin was a better shooter, he could hang, but like he'd need to be for his defensive weaknesses, which are real. Like I mean, I know Glenn likes some of the stuff he does defensively, but like I mean, that's at the three. He's never playing the three on an NBA floor. Like he's just never. The NBA team is not going to put him out there at the three because they're not going to be able to score offensively. Like it's just too easy for a team to be like, all right, what you got him at three? We're packing the paint. Take as many corner threes as you want, kid. And like the offensive rating is just going to plummet. So it's just like it's just kind of the reality of his situation, unfortunately. It's just that his skill set doesn't match what the Hawks currently need.
We spent a good chunk of the last podcast, like I think the main question of that whole episode is what's going to happen at backup power forward. And now the Mo Gueye injury comes in. Like, it's almost like we have to start all over again. Like, what's going to happen at backup power forward?
Um, it's going to depend on what happens with this Kaminga thing, right? So I don't, the reporting says Kaminga is waiting on LeBron. That might be true. We'll see. But the reality of Kaminga's situation with the Hawks right now is that the Hawks have all the leverage because the contract that he wants is not available in free agency. That's it. That's reality. So it's like, okay, you like to me, it just feels like the Hawks are like, all right, you're either signing a deal on our terms where we get you on a good deal, or it's a sign and trade where we get proper compensation, but we're not going to do a sign and trade just to do it, right? So like we're not going to do it just to give you a favor, even though they might like him as a person. Like this is a business, and the Hawks are in the business of trying to improve the roster. Um, I do find it interesting that the Hawks are like, based on everything I'm hearing, or that what Brad said and what Jake Fisher reported is that the Hawks are interested in Peyton Watson. So like that's that I do find that interesting at the same time where it's like, okay, Kaminga's kind of in limbo. Peyton Watson, though, the Hawks have real legitimate interest in him. Like that to me, that would be like if the Hawks could go from Kaminga to Peyton Watson now, it's going to cost some real compensation. But if that would be an upgrade because Peyton he has more wing skills. Like he can play the three and the four. Whereas Kaminga, I think the reason why the whole reason why, like flat out, that the Hawks rejected his team option. They seemingly aren't that motivated to get a deal done with Kuminga. I'm not saying they're not interested in having him back, but they're not that motivated. Is that he's not a wing. They said
Correct.
that when they
He's
traded
not.
for him. They literally said it when they traded for him. Like he's not a wing. We don't think he's a wing. We think he's a forward.
He's still not.
Unfortunately, so it's just like, the reality of the situation is that means he's locked into being a bench player for the Hawks, and he knows that. And so, like, I just think the role that he wants just will not materialize for this Atlanta Hawks team. Not saying it can't materialize for other NBA teams, but like he didn't show he was better than Jalen Johnson this year. And so, and like the Hawks are committed to Jalen in ways that they're not committed to Kuminga. And Jalen's just a significantly better basketball player at the same, and they're the same age. So it's just like, there's not really much to discuss here. That all that aside, I, you know, I still would like Kuminga to be back, but again, it just the dollars have to make sense. If the dollars don't make sense, like the Hawks shouldn't be giving out luxury contracts to guys, anymore. Like that era is over for the Atlanta Hawks. They're in the business of, all right, if we're paying you, if we're quote unquote overpaying you, it's for 1 year. Like we're either getting a deal or we're moving on to somebody else, and we're stacking talent. That's why I find the Peyton Watson interesting to be really interesting, because I do think he would provide uh, some elements that this Hawks team currently doesn't have, and he would also be an upside play as well, because he's only 23 years old, and he kind of finally had a semi breakout year last year for the Nuggets.
Okay, I want to answer my own questions for a second. I forgot to do this a minute ago. One, I wanted to say that as far as like the two-way contracts go, I think it's going to be Kobe Johnson and Keyshawn Gilbert. Like I feel like that's sort of two out of the three, and then we probably don't even know who that other third person is yet. But I think that's sort of where two out of the three are headed. With Peyton Watson, like I could see him coming next year, maybe. Like if he
Yeah,
takes a qualifying offer or something like that, like I'd say it's hard to see it happening this season because just I don't know like a sort of deep history of it, but it seems like Denver is a team destined not to go way, way over the second apron. Like that's not where they're headed. And that's sort of where they are right now. And they can't afford to do it. And so like there's no good way for them to trade with the Hawks and get any real relief because you'd just be exchanging money for money. So unless they get like a
it would.
third
I
team
mean,
in,
Kevin,
it
yeah,
just doesn't
definitely.
seem that feasible.
Yeah, it's too complicated. I do think there are probably some. Ansi's a pretty creative guy, so like if there's interest, I'm assuming there is a deal in place, right? Or there's a framework of a deal in place that makes sense for all parties here. But I agree with you, Kevin. Overall, like this could be just setting up for next year, where it's like, hey, if you take the qualifying offer, or whatever, we're gonna have, if of course, you gotta play up the form. But if you play up the form, we would be interested in signing you, uh, next off season as a unrestricted free agent. So that could be in play. I was thinking like a trip, a sign and trade where the Hawks send Kuminga somewhere, create exception, and then use that exception, that dollar amount to pay Peyton Watson. Just because Peyton Watson, similar to Kuminga, both Watson and Kuminga don't have a market. Ultimately right now, like they don't have a team that's going to offer them a substantial contract. So it has to be through sign and trade. That
So you're
gives
saying
the
like two
team
separate
leverage.
deals.
Yes, it gives
Okay.
the Hawks.
Yeah, that makes
That's
sense.
one of my point. Like the Hawks have legitimate leverage over like a team that's offering Kuminga the contract that he wants, which we know about, which is in the $25 million year range, and the role that he wants can only be done through signing trade. That gives the Hawks immense leverage over teams that would have interest in Kuminga services, which I would soon be the team that doesn't acquire LeBron James in this upcoming free agency cycle. So like, there's going to be teams that'll be like, all right, we missed out on LeBron. We still need to fill this hole. Like the Timberwolves I know they haven't been mentioned, but like they need somebody like Jonathan Kaminga on their roster without Julius Randle. Like, and like I don't think the Nuggets are interested in trading the Peyton Watson. So like, I do think there are avenues beyond even the teams that have been mentioned currently in free agency where the Hawks could get something for Kaminga, then repackage that, ultimately get them into the Peyton Watson deal. It's kind of more far, it's not realistic though. I'll say that. I'm not saying it's realistic or not. I'm just saying that's the framework that I have envisioned. But we until LeBron makes his decision, who knows? So like we're speculating a bit, but I do think ultimately what the Nuggets are looking for, which is salary, tax relief, or because they can't afford to pay Peyton Watson his value.
No, they cannot.
Uh, I do think they're going to get something out of this. Out of Peyton Watson because he's really good. Like I mean,
Yeah,
he
he's
is a
good.
basketball player, and like so it's gonna cost the Hawks, if the Hawks were to do this, it would cost the Hawks some real draft compensation. But like I'm just expressing that, like how does it get done? Well, Kaminga really doesn't have a market either at the moment, so it's just like they can use that to their advantage to acquire somebody they would prefer, which would be Peyton Watson.
As far as the new TV deal goes, what do we know? We know that it's going to be Atlanta news first. So if you're in Atlanta, you can watch it in your cable package. You can get an antenna and watch it. We don't know like what the streaming is going to be yet. We don't know the personnel. Like they haven't said, oh, it's going to be Bob and Neek. Like we haven't heard that yet. So like there are these questions out there that remain to be answered. I know that you're in Atlanta sometimes and not in Atlanta sometimes. And if you're not in Atlanta, you're going to be watching them on League Pass if you want to watch them. But you got any strong feelings on the TV deal?
Uh,
It
and
just is
you
what
would
it
have
is.
would have more feelings. I mean, it's good that it got signed and sealed, but like I don't, you know, I watch the games with through League Pass, so it doesn't really concern me too much.
All right. We definitely don't need to do 40 minutes in the middle of summer. Not that much happened, and you
Unfortunately,
you can go to bed early, Bob.
yeah. Good night, Bob.
Good night, Bob.